right, I'm a couple minutes early, but I want to make sure you've got time to do some work, regular work today, so I'm going to just put these up here. This is again from the test review, and hopefully you already have this. What is JavaScript? It's a programming, also known as scripting language. It's a critical part of a web page design and authoring. It can turn static documents into applications, or it provides interactivity, however you want to look at it. All right? This should make sense that we are bringing interactivity into our web pages. Questions on that one? Leave it up there for a couple more seconds. Question number 2, you should know, and again, if you get confused with number 2, which says where can JavaScript be placed in an HTML document, it's the same thing as with CSS. It can be placed in either the head section or the body section. All right? Or in an external file. So those are 3 places where you can put JavaScript code. In the head section, within script tags, in the body section, within script tags, or in its own external.js file, where you don't need script tags. The only difference between this and CSS is CSS cannot be put in the body section. Technically it can. If you use span tags, you are using CSS. All right. Question number 3 is, what is an empty element? What is an empty element? Somebody tell me the simplest HTML empty element you can think of. Anybody? Not all at once. How about a BR tag? What's special about a BR tag? There's what? There's no ending tag. That's an empty element. So an empty element is an element with no closing tag. There's a couple of them. The input tag is another one that doesn't have one. Now you still can do this. So if I put in, like with a BR, you can do BR or you can do /BR and it will take that. It might even take BR/, I don't remember. All right. But if you're putting in, for example, if you're putting in an image tag, you all know how to do this now, but if I put in image source equal, x.jpg, height equals 300, width equal 300, alt equal some picture, I can either I can end it like this or just like this. But the point is, if you try putting in a tag like this at the end, I believe the page won't work because it's an unrecognizable tag. All right. So again, a tag, an element with no closing tag. Number 4. What is an HTML document? You should all know what this is. What does it mean when it says it's a text document? I actually showed you this because remember I tried to take like a PowerPoint document and bring it up in Notepad and it looked like garbage? Because that's a binary file. All right? An HTML document is a text file, meaning you can read it in any text editor. So I can bring it up in Notepad, Notepad++, brackets, etc. All right? And if you could all just look up here for a second, I wanted to show you something. Drew asked me a really good question earlier, and I want to make sure you see this. So, let's see. So if I bring up one of these index files, I'll bring up this index2 that we looked at, and I'll bring it up, but I'm going to open it with brackets. All right? I've got something on my brackets, now Drew has it on his too, that if you're using brackets regularly, you may not have. All right? Well, it should show, but it's not coming up. There it is. And under my edit, yeah, whatever. Under my edit, it says beautify. See that? So if I go and sit there and do a bunch of this, and I'm purposely trying to screw this up. Oh, that one. That probably would be really screwed up. But you can see, I think everybody can see here what I'm doing, right? Now if I come down here and I do an edit and I go to beautify, see how I line it all back up again? All right. Now, if you want to do that, if you're using brackets, you probably don't have that on your system now. But if you look on the screen, if everybody look here, you see where you know how you run this, you've got the little firebolt. If you click the other one next to it or under it, that brings up, this is basically the add-in manager. It'll take a second to come up, but once it comes up, I can come into the box right here, the search box, and if I type in B-A-U-T for beautiful, notice that one of the things there is beautify. Then you just click the install button. That's it. There probably are a good at least 15 to 20 or 25 things that you can add on. Okay? And all you have to do is click the install button and it's an automatic install. You don't have to get out, it doesn't log you out, and it just is available to you after that. Okay? All right. Number 5, front end and back end. Front end presents the interface to the user. Back end does the heavy processing. The front end is normally, where I've got there for front end, I'm asking you this question. Look up on the screen if you would. Where it says front end, is that the browser or is that the server? The browser, correct. The back end, is that the browser or the server? It's the server. Now, I mean, there, of course, you may have heard the term thick client or thin client. If you've got a thick client, it's kind of like a thick person, all right? With a thick client, that means you give the client, you let it do as much as possible. With a thin client, you let it do as little as possible, all right? So the front end presents the interface to the user. The back end typically does the processing, the calculations, etc. Questions on that one? All right, number 6. A client-server system is also known simply as a two-tier system. And it's never really written with a number 2. It's always with the TWO. Not a TO or a TOO. All right, with a TWO. Number 7, what are the 3 pieces of a 3-tier system? You've got the client, the processing tier, this is a server, and this is a server. This is the picture I showed you in the book before. We looked at a 2-tier where there was just a client and a server. Then we looked at the 3-tier where there was a client and 2 different servers. The other thing that these tests have, just so you know, and I'm going to explain it to you when we get done on that point, the last 6 or 7 questions are matching. So like they'll give you a bunch of terms, and then they'll be like A through J or A through whatever, and there's one. There's not like extra ones. I hate that when you take tests and you've got 5 different things, and they give you 10 different answers to choose from, and you don't know which ones to not choose. We don't have it like that. All right. Number 8, some popular server-side scripting languages: PHP, ASP.NET, and Python. There are other ones too. Not JavaScript. JavaScript is a client-side scripting language. Not Java, not C#. They are not scripting languages. They are programming languages. Scripting languages mean that these basically are going to interact directly with a browser. Whether they're client-side or server-side, they will interact with the browser. The Java programs that you do almost never will interact with the browser. All right, same thing with the C# programs. Number 9, what is a server-side scripting language? It's a language that's executed from or on a web server. So client-side browser, server-side server. All right, most books use the term web server like they did in here. Number 10 is real simple. You should know this. What does the server return to the client? Anybody want to guess? What were the first 2 parts of this class? What did we talk about in the first 2 parts of this class? Or what 2 things did we talk about in the first part of this class? What? HTML and CSS. Which one of those 2 do you think the server returns to the client? Give you a hint. It's not CSS. All right? There you go. It's the answer to number 10 is HTML. There it is. Number 11. What is an object? It's code and data that's treated like an individual unit. So it's code and data bundled together. Some books will even define an object, or an object as being a bundle of code and data. Our book does not. We're going to have a whole chapter later on in the book, in this JavaScript book, on what are called functions. All right? But a function, when you're working with an object, is called, for number 12, the answer is just one word. It's a method. All right, so number 12 is just method, or a method, whatever. Number 13 look familiar to you? We just went over that in the lecture. All right? So a comment, 1 or more lines of code not processed by the browser, not processed by the system ever. It's ignored. And a block comment, multiple line comment. Somebody tell me, what's the answer to number 14? What is the JavaScript keyword used to create a variable? Var. Pretty simple, right? So the answer number 14 is var, V-A-R. And there it is. Number 15, now you just have to know basically what it is, but we will be using it throughout the rest of the course here. Get element by ID. It's the method used to reference a web page element. It's more than that. I'm going to put this in there. I don't think this is on the test, but with an ID, right? It can only reference that element if that element has an ID associated with it. What's an alert? It's a method that displays a dialog box and it has an OK button in it. Remember we did that alert? All right, where I showed the age, said hello to the person or whatever the heck it was. Number 17 is what are reserved words. Hopefully you remember we looked in the book and you saw that one page near the top of the page, that top half was all unreserved words. They're special words that are part of the language that can't be used as variable names. In other words, they have a specific purpose. I showed you go to, I mentioned it some of the other ones, the for, while, etc. Number 18, what's a URL? It's a Uniform Resource Locator. It's a web document identified by some unique address. Grab that. Number 19, and I saw some of you literally underlining it in your book when we got to that point. So it's what's an event and what's an event handler. Not to be a smart aleck, but an event handler handles events. All right, that's why they gave it that name. So an event is something, as it says, monitored by JavaScript that a script can respond to, in some way. I mean, it's in use. Oh, crud. Okay, I'll have to do that later. And the handler is the code the script executes that responds to it. All right? So the event would be on click. The event handler would be the code you put in the on click to respond to the button click type of an idea. again, please remember the test then will be Wednesday, the written test. Monday now will be lab all period. Tuesday will be lab all period. Wednesday test for the first half hour or so. Lab the rest of the period. All right, Thursday will be the hands-on test, and then Friday of next week, a week from today, we start on Chapter 2. All right, finally the last one. Expression. What's in gray now, that's an expression. This is in the matching that's on the test. One of the ones is expression. I think there's 8 of them or 9 of them, or maybe 10, I don't know, something like that. So an expression, a value, variable, or combination, the JavaScript interpreter can evaluate to produce a result. So an expression produces a result. The W3C, remember that's an acronym. W3C oversees Web Technology Standards. It's the Worldwide Web Consortium. The third one, a web server, is a computer that delivers web pages. The fourth one, validation, is the process of verifying, that should be verifying, that a document is what's known as being well formed. And the last one there, a statement is an individual line of code. On the bottom of the page. Does everybody have these? Can I go up to, does everybody have A, B, and C?
Our midterm is due next Friday.
The midterm is due a week from today by the end of class. So if you wanted to, you could spend all Monday, all Tuesday, and all Wednesday except for when we take the test on it. Yeah, but when I go home on Friday, I'm going to be grading. Now does everybody have A, B, and C? So I can just move it down a little. Okay? So it says also know these. Okay? So the first one says also know a URL. Which would be what then? That would be F. So that's a URL. That's from question 18. So if you wrote it down for 18, you don't have to write it down again. That was question 18 right there. A variable, simply it's a named memory location whose contents may vary. That's why you call it a variable. So that's URL is here, variable is here. All right. Up at the top, I'll come right back to it, but right near the top, where was it? What is an HTML document? So we already had this. Like I said, I tried to pick questions where there'd be a lot of repetition in there to make it easier for you. So in HTML, you know what HTML stands for. You all should. Hypertext, hypertext, markup, language, text document containing codes known as tags. Finally, the last one, block comments. A block comment is, oops, okay. Oh, that's interesting anyway. It's a block comment is a multi-line comment delineated by /star comment */ All right. Anybody need any of those repeated or need me to move to any up or down? Questions on any of these?
Could you go back to 19?
So the last hour and 20 minutes is yours. Anything else?
What did you put for the variable definition?
Question was, what did I put for the definition of a variable? I just said it was a named memory location whose contents may vary. That's not what the book said. That's just the way I defined it. So again, next Friday, lecture on Chapter 2, same kind of thing. I'll have I'll try on Monday to have the review page for Chapter 2 for you. Bless you. Everybody has everything?